everybody and welcome to Swedish black metal. Here we have one of the more obscure names from Sweden, Beketh Nexehmu, or however you pronounce it. Now, I will show you the name and then you will figure out why there are those funny dots. So maybe it's Beketh Nexehmu. And the album here is the Fornas likgaldrar, Forna, nordiska, besvärjelser, omfamnat, kapitel. Yeah, figured as much. So this is a double album by the Swedish black metal band or duo, which have always seemed a little bit peculiar. Not only because the name, of course, but also because they have put out very, very lengthy releases. First of all, the first album featured 3 CDs. I kid you not, more than 2 hours of music. The second one, only 2 hours. So this is a double CD here. And while there are CDs, of course, which sometimes just run almost 40 minutes and so thus are just a little bit too much to be put on one album. This one is actually filled with 2 hours of music. Both are 59 minutes and then some on 2 CDs. So as you can see, 8 tracks and 2 hours of music. Roughly more than 10 minutes each. You get the idea. And that's indeed what's going on here. Some of the songs are actually so lengthy that they last for more than 20 minutes. And by this time you have already figured out, okay, this is not your typical black metal of the second or first wave. The songs are quite different than what you would expect from, Bathory, black metal, or Celtic Frost, or Venom and the like, which were then again more, I guess, safe to say, rock and roll oriented or based. Oh, and when I said the first album, sorry, I guess I meant the second album. It was this the Fördolda klangor, that was the 3 CD version. But here we have the Fornas, likgaldrar, Forna, nordiska, besvärjelser, omfamnat, kapitel. I really can't pronounce Swedish, so there's that. My best attempt. And this is by 2 guys who founded this band in 2010. So it's been here more than 10 years now. But only the past couple of years, 3 years or so, the band has been really active in the album department. And that's what it means is 4 albums within the span of 3 years. Quite a lot. Anyhow, this is an interesting case for, once again, a couple of reasons. First of all, the songs are lengthy as fuck. And it's not only pure black metal what's going on with this album. There's a lot of ambience. And maybe not as purely dark ambient as I would like to it be, but ambient nonetheless. With kind of a dripping water sounds and stuff like that towards the end of the albums, both actually. And stuff like that. And then there are parts where there are lots of instrumental black metal. This is creating a certain kind of a hipster alert here. And the point here is, basically, Beketh Nexehmu with this album is a combination of 2 things. It's melodic and violent black metal. There are parts where it's very, very high tempo and quite aggressive with its lo-fi melodic guitars and all that stuff and, well, screamy vocals. And then there are parts where it just gets all atmospheric. Lots of instrumental parts where it actually never goes anyplace. And this is where you just bring in your post-metal or post-rock parts. Post-metal, post-rock are here kind of they both fit. The thing here is, sometimes it's more on the post-rock era. Sounding kind of a lightweight and not too heavy. But there are parts where it gets more metallic. And because this is overall black metal, I guess post-metal would be that thing. Or like some people would now nicely remind, it's post-black metal. Please. And this is something that might actually annoy a lot of people because they're like, hey, this is not just some post-black metal or post-black metal stuff. It's just atmospheric black metal. Yeah, sure, whatever, kiddo. The thing here is I've heard so many, post-black and post-metal, post-rock albums that I pretty much know when you have those kind of riffs, which are not exactly so much riffs, but more like just kind of whistling guitars. You really don't have riffs or, palm muted parts or so much. It's more like letting your guitar do the kind of kind of a thing. It's almost like it's wind yelling by your window and letting that kind of a hissing, wheezing noise. And that's, by the way, fine with this kind of album. The point here is this is way more complicated as an album than you might just want to think of it. I mean, because some parts are really the fast tempo parts, and then you have these most post-melodic parts, and then you suddenly have ambience. It's almost like an album put into 3 different parts, except that it's, a mess of all those things. It's not like going from, A zone to B zone to C phase or whatever. It's actually like, let's start with that, let's go there, and then head back, or maybe just take parts from the Z, and that's where it gets more complicated. But it's all fine because it actually works. Now, the problem with this is not the lo-fi sounding, and because it kind of fits the black metal parts, but the feeling that is so much full of filler parts. I mean, let's be honest about it. How many good bands you really know that are able to do really good and captivating, I'm not going to say catchy, but I'm going to say captivating songs which are like 20 minutes long. Maybe you're one of the few out of 1 million or so who actually like, yeah, pretty much all my favorite bands are ones that run for 15 minutes and nothing really happens except kind of a thing. But let's be honest about it. Most of the most iconic black metal songs, for instance, they are kind of more to the point. They don't have the Metallica syndrome where you're like, hey, let's keep repeating these riffs from some like 8 minutes, not to mention 20. And also, because of a lot of these parts are instrumental, you kind of have to be ready to embrace that. There is not that much happening. Not with the vocal sector, not with the guitars. It's more about creating the ambience. And as such, it reminds me of Philosophem era Burzum, which is a classic album, and I fucking love the first few tracks. The rest of the album is good, but is it great? Not so much. And that's why Beketh Nexehmu reminds me of that. There's a lot of ambience, there's a lot of parts where things don't really get into the rolling motion. It's not like Marduk delivering you punches left and right, or Mayhem, which has weird, captivating, evil riffs. Beketh tries to have a lot of these ideas, especially the Burzum parts. But it's not nailing, it's more like work in progress. Then again, this is only the second album, so who knows how much they have evolved since this album. And maybe these guys are just so bizarre, people like me are not supposed to understand them. That's, by the way, totally fine. So I'm a little bit on the fence here. On the other hand, I kind of like it a lot. But then again, when I was listening to these 2 hours of an album more than 2 times, I was like, okay, this is just too much having fillers, and there's no way out of it. So maybe if this was all more compact in maybe only one album of 59 minutes, and you would have certain 15 or 20 minutes part of ambient and another 15-20 minutes part of this kind of a post black metal parts, and the rest the kind of a lo-fi black metal the album started with, then it would have been actually way better. Now it's more like repeating it way too much like this video here. So I kind of get it. I'm rambling forever and forever, and that's exactly what the band is doing. We're kind of a carved from the same boat, but me, I'm just talking, they're doing the music. Luckily my own band's music is not that much rambling. Anyway, if you are into post-black metal, if you're into instrumental black metal, and you don't mind lo-fi production, this is definitely your cup of tea. I mean, worth checking out at least. But if you want to enjoy some more compactful and more powerful, more evil or grim or violent kind of a black metal with aggression and all that stuff, don't bother. This is too complicated, too much filler. Thanks for checking out the review. Should you have any comments or questions, you know what to do. It's the comments box. See ya.